One bad thing about every Call of Duty Zombies map, Treyarch Edition. Every single main zombies map that we've had from Treyarch, starting all the way back in World at War 2009 with Nectar Toten, to our latest one last year in 2022, which was the Archon in COD Vanguard. It was very easy to think of a bad thing for some zombies maps, and for others, really difficult because for at least one or two, I don't really think there's a single bad point about it. But I've had to come up with something because that's the point of the video. But just before we continue, today's video is sponsored by One State, which is a multiplayer roleplay game. I love to roleplay and even watching other people roleplay in video games. Sometimes I want to play as a cop, sometimes I want to play as the gangster, other days the businessman, and then the average worker. And One State lets you do that. I've recently just started playing this game, and I was amazed that every player is given a free business with a lot of opportunities to earn money. So it's nothing like other online games because the main focus is the social part and having fun with people on the map. During my playtime, I met a bunch of different players because the game consists entirely of real people. Some players police officers, some as military personnel. I've even seen players who have created their own gangs and instilled fear in the city. And the fact that it all happens on a real map of America is really cool, especially when it has great optimized graphics. The game has tons of real life vehicles, from used models to the coolest supercars, so you can ride in a G-Wagon or a sports car, a drift car, whatever you want. You can upgrade your cars inside and out. There is so much to do, so many missions, so you're never gonna get bored, whether you're playing alone or making new friends. I think this is a new level of mobile online games. I'll be waiting for you guys in One State. Make sure you go ahead and download it using the link which you can find in the description, and also enter my promo code, which you will find there as well, for 10,000 in-game currency. So there we go ahead, download it, I'll see you guys there, and thank you to One State for sponsoring today's video. So let's start off with Nectar Toten. Although this was our first zombies map, a very good beginning. By all means, it isn't perfect. There are a few things I could have listed, but I'm going to say the fact that it had no perks is the worst thing about Nectar Toten. Like I said, it's understandable being the first zombies map, and by the way, I'm talking about the original iterations of maps, not remastered versions that we saw, for example, on Black Ops 1, which did have perks. The original World at War version didn't. And as you can imagine, it is a hard zombies map anyway, and when you have no perks, no Juggernog, no quick revive, it's tough. For me, the worst thing about this map is just the difficulty. There are so many things that come into play with this. The size of it makes it difficult, the entry points of the zombies, no pack-a-punch. Verrucht is really difficult, which is my bad point, but at the same time, I kind of like that it's hard. The worst thing about Shino Numa in World at War was the fact that you could only have 24 zombies on the map at once. You will see a ton of high rounds happen on Shino Numa purely for this reason. It's also big and open, so there's a lot of room for you to train 24 zombies. It's not a big amount, so that would probably be my worst point about it. Derice, an absolutely almost perfect map. It was really difficult to find something I dislike about it, which is why I've written down that you can camp on the catwalk and make this extremely simple. There aren't a lot of zombies maps out there, in my opinion, where you can just camp in one spot. Normally you have to train around an area, you at least have to run or walk. For Derice, you don't, you can just sit on the catwalk, have the Wonder Waffle or the ray gun or any decent pack-a-punched weapon, not move, and you can get to a very high round. Derice is great, but if you use that strategy, which does make sense, you can't knock people for doing it, it's not really a challenge. The worst thing about Kino der Toten for me is definitely the crawlers. Now, if they were just regular and didn't have Nova 6 gas in them, they'd be fine, but when you combine them with these zombies and you end up shooting a crawler and it explodes, and then you end up getting trapped in a corner, so you have to run towards that gas, and you get disorientated, you can't see, and that leads to you getting downed. Yeah, the Nova crawlers, when they're alive, are okay, but when you shoot them, the gas that sprawls out of them can get a nuisance. 5, it's got to be the Pentagon Thief. Now, I actually don't mind this guy, but what I don't like about him is that he's so hard to kill and he's quick. Especially the first time that you come up against him, you're almost never going to kill this guy. If you've got the ray gun on you, then maybe you'll get lucky. But even then, his health is so large. He's got such a big health bar, so you can pretty much say goodbye to your weapon. The worst thing about Ascension is the monkeys. Now, if you're playing co-op, 2, 3 or 4 player, this is a lot easier, but if you're playing solo, especially if you've got 4 perks, let's say Juggernaut, Quick Revive, Speed Cola, Double Tap, you're almost never going to save all 4 of these perks. If you do manage, you get a free one, of course, but defending 4 different perk machines on your own is really difficult, so solo, the monkeys on Ascension are just super annoying. I was going to say the worst thing about Call of the Dead was George. He's close, but in the end I decided that the wonder weapons on this map are just so bad. both of them, the VR11 and the Scavenger. I know you can combine both of these together and use them in an effective way, but still, I don't think either of these wonder weapons are great. A lot of you guys might disagree, but I think Treyarch should have just given us one great wonder weapon instead of both of these. The worst thing about Shangri-La is the napalm zombies. You could also add these shriekers into here, but we can only choose one. Now, if Shang was a big open map, they wouldn't be such a problem, but because it's tight, you can't see what's around the corner from you, and wherever you are on this map, besides from the bridge, there's pretty much a corner about a meter in front or behind. You know the napalm zombie is on the map before you see him because of the fire on your screen, and because of the short range of fire, literally, it's difficult not to have this guy explode in your face. If this was any other map, it wouldn't be an issue, but he can be on Shangri-La. For Moon, I have picked the astronaut. Now, honestly, when I'm playing, it's very rare that he catches me, headbutts me, sometimes takes away Juggernog, which is then a real pain in the arse to have to travel back down to Earth to get again. But it's enemies like this, which is why I brought up George earlier. I just don't really like ones that are constantly following you around the map. Unlike George, the astronaut isn't scary, he is just more of a nuisance. Yeah, I don't hate him, he is just more of a nuisance. I don't really know why he's there, but he is. Now, transit. As you guys would imagine, there were about 10 different things I put here. The lava, that could be one. Having to constantly jump around. The fog, when you're running from area to area if you miss the bus. The denizens. But you know what? I've put the Pack-a-Punch system. Transit has undoubtedly the worst Pack-a-Punch setup I've ever seen in a zombies map. Having to go to the power station and then putting a turbine in front of it and then making your way to the bank in town before that turbine dies if the zombies don't get it a lot quicker than it should die out, and then going under the bank, Pack-a-Punching and getting out, and then the turbine eventually dying, you having to do that whole process again. It's just super annoying. It's the least fun Pack-a-Punch system I've ever seen. There are a lot of bad ones in COD Zombies. You could say Origins and the generators, but nothing's anywhere near as frustrating as this. The worst thing about Nuketown Zombies was the spawning system for the perks. Now, a lot of this is due to luck, so if you get Juggernog on, say, round 5, then this isn't an issue, but a lot of games you will get Juggernog on round 20 or even its latest, round 25. If imagine playing a Zombies game and you don't buy Juggernog to round 25, even on an easy map like Ascension, that would be annoying, but Nuketown Zombies is very hard as it is, so not being able to get Juggernog until round 25, there's a very low chance that most players are ever going to survive to that round in the first place. If you do get lucky and get Jug early, that's great, but a lot of the time, if I don't get it by an early round, I end up having to restart this game over and over again until that happens, because I'm not willing to play to round 20 or 25, risking getting downed just to get Juggernog. What I don't like about Die Rise is an integral part of the map. It's what the map is, really, and that's that you can fall and die pretty much anywhere. Die Rise requires you to jump from building to building, to go up and jump down levels, to jump side to side. You have to be very careful. There's been so many times I've died in this map just from falling, which is annoying. Mob of the Dead is almost a perfect map, so for this one, it was so hard. I'm gonna say just the fact that there are so many parts to collect on Mob, whether it be for building the shield or the acid gat or the plane and collecting fuel every time. It can feel like Mob of the Dead is a collection game sometimes, and the spawn points of some of the parts can be in very frustrating locations, but other than that, Mob is a perfect map, so that's what I'm going to say was the worst thing about it. Buried, again, almost a perfect map, but I'm just going to have to say the Paralyzer can sometimes ruin it, because it is so overpowered, especially with it having unlimited ammo. You can very easily just sit in a high place on this map where the zombies can only spawn from in front of you and just tap the Paralyzer so that it doesn't overheat, but using its unlimited ammo to kill the zombies, and you can do that over and over again, meaning Buried, kind of similar to Doris, doesn't really take much skill. Now for Origins, as I said earlier, I could have said the generators are the worst thing about this map, but you know what? It's the mud. It's when you combine the mud with any other element, whether it be getting to the generators when the zombies are turning them off, or having to run away from the zombies through the mud, or especially when you mix the mud with the Panzer Soldat, trying to get away from him. The one thing I hate about Shadows of Evil are the rituals. Now, let me explain. When you first play Shadows of Evil, it's amazing. When you've played it a few times, it's still great, but when you've played it 50 to 100 times, and you have to complete these same 4 rituals over and over again every single playthrough of Shadows of Evil. It takes about half an hour to complete all 4 of them. You have to do this every single time, no matter what. It can get very repetitive. The worst thing about the Giant is the exact same problem that was on Derisa. It's just too easy if you want to camp on the catwalk. It is also the exact same map, so you wouldn't expect any other answer. The worst thing about Der Eisendrache, the best map in zombies in my opinion, there is still a bad thing about it. That's the Panzersoldat. I think this Panzer is a lot worse than the one we saw in Origins. I don't know the exact stats, but he feels a lot more harder to kill as well. It takes longer, I might be wrong there, but he has different abilities. He can fire shock charges, which the one on Origins couldn't do. And although there was the mud on Origins slowing us down, at least it was big and open. Der Eisendrache is a lot tighter, so you've pretty much always got the Panzersoldat in your face. And if he isn't, well, he's going to hit you with a shock charge. What I don't like about Zetsubo no Shima is how many doors there are on this map, how long it takes you to completely open it, even to get to the important parts like, I don't know, the Pack-a-Punch, how long it takes to get there, traversing through the map, the doors you have to open, and the points it costs you. You're not going to get there on an early round unless you get a lot of double points. Almost every time I play Zetsubo no Shima now, I find myself just not completely opening the map, which is rare. I do that for pretty much every zombies map that we have. But for Zetsubo, I don't, because there's just an unnecessary amount of doors. Why? The worst thing about Gorod Karovi is the Valkyrie drones, these flying little robots. Why do you exist? I thought the parasites were the worst thing about zombies when it comes to flying creatures, but no, the Valkyrie drones, maybe the parasites are worse, but the Valkyrie drones definitely are up there. They're harder to kill. That one stupid eye, why are you a thing? I don't know. Revelations surprised me because I thought it'd be easy to pick something I don't like about this map, and that would have been the case when it first came out, but now that it's, been years later, I really like Rev. It takes all of the best parts from all the zombies maps, which helps it, but for this list it doesn't, because that means there's also no new wonder weapon. It takes the best wonder weapons from all the zombies maps, being the Thunder Gun and the Apothicon Servant. I would have loved a new wonder weapon on this map. It was the end of BO3, the grand finale. We should always get a brand new wonder weapon. We just didn't. I think Revelations definitely deserved a unique wonder weapon. Moving on to BO4's maps, Voyage of Despair. Can I just say this map as a whole is the worst thing about it? The tightness, the size, it's big but like really tight, whereas Verrucht was small and tight. Voyage is large and tight with all the corridors. I just don't like the map as a whole. There are so many things I could say. I'm just going to say the layout. I understand it's based off the real life Titanic, but that doesn't mean it actually makes for a good zombies map. In theory it does. It sounds like a great idea, but it's not fun to play. The worst thing about 9 was all of the different enemy types, whether it be the gladiators, the tigers. There were 2 different gladiators, by the way, the slow one and then the big jumping one with the claw. That big walking on stilts creature, whatever that thing was called, I can't remember. And then the other variants of regular zombies, like the gas ones. There were just so many and way too many. Blood of the Dead is a little bit of a tedious one, but I've always asked the question, why didn't Treyarch tell us the location of the Pack-a-Punch? Where is it? On the rooftop? Is it somewhere else? On every other zombies map, there is at least some indication of where Pap is, but on Blood of the Dead, especially because it's a big map, I don't want to have to run a few minutes to one area only to find out it's not there and then have to go somewhere else and find out it's not there. Just give us some kind of indication. There are other points I could have put for Blood, but you know what, today I feel like complaining. For Classified, which is the remastered or remade version of 5, I've always thought the dog rounds on this map were just too excessive. I don't know what it is exactly, whether they last longer or there's more of them, but as you go on through the rounds, as you'd expect, the dog rounds just became unnecessarily tedious. Dead of the Night, I'll be honest, this is probably my least played zombies map out of any of them. I can't really give you guys a bad point because I just didn't play it enough. A lot of people did tell me that they didn't enjoy the Easter egg when it came out. I can't remember. Maybe my bad point for Dead of the Night would be the fact that it had no marketing at all, which is probably one of the reasons why many people didn't play it, including me. There was zero hype for this map, so can I just say it was the least exciting zombies map we've ever had? It was a similar situation for me on Ancient Evil, although what I do remember was the Pack-a-Punch system on co-op, having to ride Pegasus. If everybody in the lobby didn't do it, then well, you're screwed. So I'm going to say for co-op, Pack-a-Punching, if everyone wasn't on the same level, was annoying. The worst thing about Alpha and Mega, in my opinion, was that it was so cluttered. It was such a busy map with objects everywhere. Even outside in the big open space, there's just, vehicles, wood, bins, fences, there's just random objects placed all over this map, and then you go downstairs and there's nice big open rooms, and well, there's a massive couch in the middle, some big wooden barrier. This is such a cluttered map, there's hardly any room to maneuver, so I'd say that, although there were plenty of other points. The worst thing about Nectar Toten was the variants of the wonder weapons, the ice thunder gun in particular. I can't remember the actual name of it, just going off the top of my head, but this variant of the thunder gun wasn't any better than the original. I don't really understand the point of it. Surely if you're going to have upgrades of wonder weapons, they have to be better. I don't get the upgrades of the wonder weapons in tag, they're not very good. My problem with D Machine was the upgrades for the wonder weapons and obtaining them. The wonder weapon itself was alright when you had the different variants, but that was the point, when you had them. I think the only time I did have them was when I was doing the Easter egg. I don't want to have to complete steps of the Easter egg, get, you know, a quarter way through it, or halfway, in order to get upgrades to wonder weapons. A couple of simple steps is fine, not 10. What I didn't like about Firebase C was that it was way too simple for me. There wasn't enough to do in this map, even if you're not doing Easter eggs and just, you know, want to play zombies regularly, going up through the rounds. For some reason it felt really boring and bland and dull. I think it might be the least fun zombies map ever. Quite similar with Nectar Toten, and you will find this with all of the Black Ops Cold War maps. They all have this in common. This map wasn't unique enough. I tried to find something else that I could point out, but it's actually a good map. There are a lot of good features in it. I love the wonder weapon, or wonder weapons. The Easter egg's pretty good. The map itself isn't too bad, but overall, it just isn't unique enough. If you look at past zombies maps from BO1 or World at War, BO2, 3, etc., they each have a unique feeling about them, but Mauer didn't. It felt more or less the same as every other Cold War map. That's more to do with the game, because every map suffered with that. If that's the only thing I could point out, it does show that Mauer was good. And the final Cold War zombies map, Forsaken, this map was ripped straight from the campaign. At least Mauer or Firebase C had a few unique changes. Forsaken is pretty much exactly like the campaign mission. Come on, man, you've got to put a bit more effort in. You know, when I was talking earlier about uniqueness in Cold War Zombies maps, we've got another one with Forsaken. It's a campaign map. And then we come on to Vanguard Zombies, Fang. The worst thing about it is Fang. Terra Maledicta, the worst thing about it is Terra Maledicta. Shinonuma, the worst thing about that map is the fact that it's on Vanguard Zombies. And the Archon, the worst thing about it, it's the Archon. Oh, sorry. It's Terra Maledicta. And that is the worst thing about each and every Treyarch Zombies map.